Hello and welcome to my build guide of the Warhammer 40,000 Conquest Hatchett Partworks subscription. It's a subscription that costs you normally £7.99 a week, so that's £32 a month. This is the first ever issue number 1. It was £1.99 and it came with 3 paints. Obviously this, a poster, and if you subscribed you also got your clippers, your scraping tool and some glue, along with these 3 paints, your Retributor Armour, Abaddon Black and Macragge Blue. Great set. I think you'll agree, even if you didn't get the tools and you just got the 3 intercessors and the 3 paints, it saves you a lot of money. I mean, the paints themselves are like £2.50, so for less money you're getting 3 Space Marines and 2 more paints. Exceptional value. I can see why a lot of people bought more than 1 copy of this. Unfortunately, the intercessors are monopose. They are easy to build, which means you don't necessarily need glue, which is still a good thing. This is the first of all of my Conquest videos where I'm going to go through each magazine and go through the build guides and build all of the models with you. So we're going to go through the whole journey building these miniatures as we go along. Now, I've had these models before. I got them last year. I think I bought them separately in like a set. I think they cost me £6 as well, or maybe even £8 for the 3. So we're going to have a look at these and go through them. Let's move all of these things aside. So the first thing I like to do is obviously make sure you've got a cutting mat, make sure you've got some decent light. I've got an LED lamp here. I will firstly look at a build guide. So in here, the build guides are in these magazines about here. So it gives you an example of what you need to use. Clippers, these are the clippers you get with a subscription, but the ones in the picture are the Games Workshop ones. I've got these as well. I do prefer the other ones compared to these, but for the sake of it, I'll just use these. This is how to build them. Very, very easy to build. They only consist of about 5 parts each or so. You've got a sergeant, intercessor, and another intercessor. So we'll go through them model by model. Let's start off with the sergeant. So he's piece 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we look at the sprue and we just have a look at, well, there he is there, number 2. So we'll just cut these off. But these are super easy to build because they've just got the pegs. You don't necessarily even need glue. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there we go. We've got the bolt rifle here. Actually looks like a stalker bolt rifle. There's his head right there. Three, 4, 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 3. Looks a bit odd because this looks like it's 6, this back panel, but they don't have the line underneath it. That panel is actually number 9 for the second one. So let's just build Sergeant Decius. So what I like to do is I normally use a hobby knife just to cut away all the flash bits. Like so. Okay, and finally the head. So there we go. So there are all the bits kind of cleaned up a little bit. The next stage is to use the scraper tool to get rid of the mold lines. You can see a mold line right there. I'll just zoom in. There we go. See that mold line there? So that's the thing that we need to sort of get rid of. You can do it with this mold line scraper, which works fine. Or what I prefer is one of the files, like so. And then you can really get right up to the corner and have a much kind of smoother finish in there. So what I'll do is I'll just clean up all of these parts with the file and the mold line remover, and then we'll get on to assembly. So join me in the next part. Okay, so then what we can do is we've cleaned this up, taken all the little extra bits of plastic off, and then you can either use the mold line remover, which I'll just zoom in, show you an example of that. Just scraping off the raised part of where the mold has produced this extra bit of plastic. Quite tricky to find it, and you're going to have problems in the nooks and crannies, which is why I always suggest you have like a file, and that works really well. It also smooths it out. You will get a bit of dust, but you can blow it. You can put the file in a little bit of water, and that minimises the dust. If you're doing it on 412 models, the resin, then that's very harmful. I'd put a mask on if you're filing resin off of 412 models. But then I use a little brush to brush all the dust off before I then spray the models. So I'm just going to clean this up and then show you all the parts once they're cleaned up, and then we'll start to build the model. Okay, once you're happy that all the pieces are clean and clear from any mold lines, it really depends on whether you want to do this part now. I try and do it about this time, and that is to drill the holes in the gun barrel. So that's just for this bolt rifle, stalker pattern bolt rifle. So I typically drill the hole, and this is just a little hand drill. You can use an electric one if you wish, but make sure it's quite a small drill piece. And I tend to drill the side closest, or the side that you'll see the most first, only a little bit, not all the way, not fully through, and then I go the other side just to clear it up. And then you've got, this is probably the most difficult part of the whole procedure, is trying to get that drill piece central, and try and get a central hole, and then go all the way through. Now if you see it going at a bit of a wonk, just try and angle it a little bit differently, so that you can wiggle it about a bit and take a bit of the plastic off from the sides, and then that makes it a bit more kind of symmetrical. Make sure there's no plastic in the middle, and then just give it a file off as well at the end. Then that smooths the barrel down. I suppose you could go one up and just twizzle that a little bit, but you just got to make sure that it's smooth and believable as a hole for the barrel. I'll just give you a little close-up of what I've achieved there. So yeah, as you can see, the hole. So, and that just really helps with the kind of believability of the model itself. So next, what I'm going to do is just put all of these pieces together. Using the guide, it's quite self-explanatory, but we're building this guy here with the pointing finger, the sergeant. So you'll have your base that you will have prepared a little bit. Typically with bases, I always have the slot part. As you can see, it's not definitely central, it's more to the back. I have the slot hole more to the back, and that goes with any slotter bases that I've ever kind of made. Then just follow the instructions. You can't really go wrong. It is push to fit, so what that means is you can technically, because there are plugs and sockets, you can just push that in without any glue. You don't really need glue with this issue's models, but before you push too far, it's up to you. You may want to use the glue that they provided in you know, with the subscription. So what I'll do here is just put glue on those points and on the edges and surrounding there and on the plugs, and then just squeeze that on there. But you've got to make sure that you put the head in first. So you might want to put a bit of glue there, put the head in like so, then push that together. That should push the head in there, and you'll know you get it right because his head should be facing one direction. Now you may get a bit of a gap, which is understandable with these push to fit miniatures. They are hard to kind of properly squeeze together, so it's up to you. You may want to put a little bit of glue in that gap and it will just melt the two pieces together a little bit better. And then once it's dry, you can just file down the excess. While you're doing this part, you can put the arms and the power pack on. So some glue there, put this arm on there, put his finger, put his arm into that hole like so, and this arm as well. I've got him pointing down this time, and his bolt rifle I'm going to put all the way back like so. Then glue the power pack on. That's got a plug and socket system, so you just want to slot that together, and there you go. And then the final piece of the puzzle is you just glue him to the base. Like so. And he should just slot in there quite snugly. Again, not necessarily need glue for these because they are push to fit, but there you go. So I've made that Sergeant Decius, quite simple to make, but I've obviously used some glue just to keep all the parts in place a bit more solidly. So that's the Sergeant Decius. What I'll do is I'll fast forward a little bit and I'll prepare the parts for Intercessor Apollon and Intercessor Galius, and then join me in this next part of the video where I will assemble both of those in front of your eyes as well. Okay, well, I kind of skipped a part here and built Intercessor Galius. I'm yet to build Intercessor Apollon, I don't know. Anyway, Galius went together quite well. He only consists of 5 parts, including the head. I've raised his auspex, which is a thing that can basically, like a little radar thing. If you've seen the movie Aliens, well, you might not have, but if you've seen the movie Aliens, then it's kind of like a motion tracker thing that can see through walls, and it works by the dispersion of particles in the air. Essentially, I'm trying to explain something in sci-fi, but anyway, got his stalker pattern bolt rifle upright. So that's Intercessor Galius, all done, all cleaned and made, and I thought I'd just take this opportunity to have you join me to build Intercessor Apollon, or Apollon. I'm going to call him Apollon from now on. All the parts are cleaned up, all filed and things, so now we're just going to glue them together. Again, like the other 2 Intercessors, it says put the head in first, so what we'll do is we'll just apply a little bit of glue there, and on the plugs we'll pop that in. We'll just rest it in, because when we apply his back part, that will squish his head in there a bit better. Oh, they are quite tight. So there you go. So his head is in there. I suppose you could move his head whichever way you want. I mean, I'm going to have mine like that. The instructions do say have his head pointing that way, but we're going to change that for my one. And then basically his bolt rifle goes there, and you can put anything that will go wrong can go wrong. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, sorry. So essentially we're aiming to pop his right arm in there, and at the same time pop his left arm on there and into the gun. It's a little bit tricky. But it should go in like so. So there you go. That's now in. I'll raise his gun up a little bit. I'm going to lower it a little bit actually. It's going to go that way. And then the power pack. Just go in like so. It's a tricky one, this one. But it will go on there. So, and then finally his feet and the slot itself. That will just pop on in there. Like so. There you go. So he's in, he's glued. And there you go. So that is Apollon glued and done, and that is all of the three intercessors: Sergeant Decius, Intercessor Apollon, and Intercessor Galius. They're all complete. Of course, now the next stage is to give them a little brush, which I have here. If you've got a brush similar to this, make sure it's like a plastic brush or whatever. Wait until they're properly dry, and then if you want to get rid of some of the mold lines or some of the glue lines that may have occurred through this process, give it a few hours and then file them down, and then after that then you can brush all the dust off with this, take them outside and spray them. If you want to have them ultramarines blue, obviously use the McCrag blue spray paint. If you want them different colours, just, you know, get the other colour spray paints. Mine are black, so I spray mine black anyway. What I'd like to say first of all is I hope you've enjoyed this kind of building guide video. If you want to see more of these, I have done one for this awesome looking Lieutenant Calcius. Yes, I know we're getting bombarded with lots of lieutenants at the moment, but this lieutenant is awesome, absolutely awesome looking. He came in, I think, issue 5 or 6, so I have done a full build guide for him and a review. The next stage in this is to do the review for these three, although I'll basically review them if there were, you know, 5 or more, because I don't think you can sort of, I say legally have a squad of 3, but I'll go through it anyway from the Space Marine Codex. So if you would like to see more of these build guide videos, please do put it in the comments below. The next video you'll see in this series will be the review of these, and then there'll be some unboxings of the rest of the Conquest series, followed by their reviews. Anyway, thank you ever so much for joining me on this build guide. If you've got any questions, as always, put it in the comments below. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor protects.